Hello everyone, it is Ebontis, and today I'm excited I get to show you Corepunk. Now, if you crossed an MMO RPG with a MOBA, and tossed in some ARPG elements with an isometric camera perspective, that's a quick explanation of kind of what this would be. Now, before I go any farther, I do want to thank Artificial Core for the key to jump in early access and the fact that this is a sponsored video, but these thoughts in here are my own, and they're from about my first 15 hours of playtime. Now, the world they created here is a unique combination of, like, steampunk, fantasy, sci-fi, and probably a couple other words you could throw in there. You've got everything from what look to be crashed alien pods, but probably not alien. You've got weird little nuclear reactors on the sides of buildings, and I say that as a joke, but it's like a weird-looking power structure. I've got a bow, somebody else has a spear and a shield, and yet I've also got a hoverboard for a piece of traversal. So it is a mix of multiple genres. You're not just stuck in like medieval weaponry and that's it. There's a lot more going on here. I am kind of curious what the story does. Now, the nice thing about the world is nothing really feels repetitive, as each turn through the forest opens up another path you can venture down and you see what next. But everything that you see, it really does feel like every plot of farmland, each tree in the forest, and kind of the whole world has been meticulously handcrafted to feel just like organic as you walk through it. And as you wander and get lost in the forest, it really does kind of feel like that. You're just roaming around in a forest and you're seeing what's around every corner. Now, in early access, there are 3 main biomes. So you've got the forest and farmland, where you're probably going to see most of my gameplay. You've got swamps, and then when you get into kind of the higher level, you're going to see like the steppes and higher level enemies and kind of mountainous regions. And right now, those are kind of the big 3 biomes, but there's even variations within those in and of themselves. Now, each zone that actually kind of has a name and title to it is massive to explore. And it's easy to get lost in these zones, but in a good way, because if you're wandering around in combat and farming resources and you don't know how far you've traveled, it's kind of a good way to know that the game is keeping you engaged as you just keep going and going and going, and then all of a sudden you're like, I am so far away from home, it's not even funny. There's a fast travel to kind of like your home base destination that you've chosen, and the mount does help that you can get to once you get enough money, but I will say just getting lost in the woods, you can definitely cover some ground, and more than you would expect before you know it. So I gotta say, just the world that they've created alone, pretty cool to explore. Now, Corepunk is a game that will speak to a classic type of gamer, probably, who doesn't want the game to hold their hand. They don't want to be guided from waypoint to knock out a quest and be like, here's this glowing object here, talk to this person, walk over here to this next glowing thing that you can't miss and go over here. And then it's screaming at you tips along the way so you don't get to figure anything out on your own. So it's not going to do that type of stuff. If you need to go find an item for like an NPC quest, they may give you like a vague description, like halfway between our house and this other NPC's house out in the woods. And that's it. And you might be searching the woods to try and find like an abandoned camp. You think you might find it. You're kind of halfway between on the map. But the item you're looking for isn't like glowing at you. It's not like, here I am, here I am. It's just an item on a shelf, and you've got to like mouse over some of the stuff there to figure out that one of them is interactable. And at that point, then you can actually pick it up, and then you'll be able to take it back to them. Now, I will be honest, some people are going to say that, you know, this is making things harder than it should be. Some of this is lacking quality of life. Others may honestly just appreciate that it's like real exploration, and you're going to have moments that are going to happen upon your journey like, oh, I found the thing, here it is. Like, those are going to be good moments for some people, and others are going to be like, I'm so tired, I'm going to look it up on a wiki, I'm going to go figure out where this location is and walk straight there. There's multiple types of people who are going to play this game, and that experience could easily go both ways. I can see it. But honestly, sometimes it's just nice to get lost in the wood, farm some resources for all the trades and professions that you're going to have, and honestly, as you're going through, take each battle that comes your way, because you're going to come across quite a few things that you can fight. Now, do I think a few of the items themselves could either have a better description, better voice dialogue to kind of tell you where to find it, maybe a little bit of a highlight once you're in the area, just a little bit maybe, to find them? Yeah, I do, honestly, because some of them were really obscure and I even had to go look them up. But If it's just say, hey, go find wolves in the forest, but the forest is a pretty big zone, you might be wandering the forest for a little while. But as you're out there, you're going to pick up a whole bunch of other resources while you're going, which are going to help you with crafting and that type of stuff as you go. So it's a little bit of both, as opposed to going from point A specifically to point B. Getting a little bit of lost works, and it's also going to help level you up and find resources and all of those things. So yes, I think there could be a few quality of life tweaks on the quests, but I appreciate the fact it's not like, go right here and pick up this thing and bring it back to me. That is more of a fetch quest than at least, you know, trying to figure some stuff out on your own, at least to me. Now, I know at the start of the video, I said a lot of letters to describe this mashup of genres, but I really think they're kind of doing a couple things that I haven't seen done specifically in this way before. Now, the isometric camera perspective works extremely well for the game, works with the art style, also works well with the fog of war and the combat, because it is MOBA-based combat. Now, you've got intentional skill choices, when to, you know, pair your attack versus, say, like an enemy attack that's coming, knowing when to get out of the way of enemy attacks if they're coming your way, and picking which battles to get into, which comes with the fog of war. All of that will play into how you're going to encounter enemies. Enemies around your level are pretty much always going to be a threat, for me, at least so far, because I was a solo player. So if there was one enemy about my level, depending on what abilities they had, that was going to be kind of a battle of, you know, trying to make sure I can survive each one. If there is a single enemy on screen and on my minimap I see one, but there's a little farther away a couple more that actually make up a group of enemies, I have easily had to turn around and run away from that encounter because I got in over my head. Now, each skill that I use can help me survive some of those group encounters. If I do an AoE slow and then I net one of the enemies as a hunter, I'm able to survive something that maybe otherwise would be a bit much. And I've also leveled up my gear, leveled up my augments and stuff I'll go into in a little bit, so I'm able to survive more than I used to, but especially early on, this game is just going to be punishing if you get greedy, try and engage too many enemies. Every single battle, every single encounter with an enemy, take it seriously. As you're roaming through the forest, don't just haphazardly run straight through and tick off a bunch of enemies, or you better be fast at running, because they are going to all be mad at you. So I would recommend a group for playing this if you can, because you're going to be able to enjoy the class dynamics a bit more with the tank, support player, some DPS, depending on how you round out your squad. But from the skills and stuff that I'm going to show you, as well as some of the other talents and things that they've got in here, they are making some accommodations for solo players, which is really nice to see, because that's one of those things that I specialize in. So it's off to a pretty good start there, and this is still very early access, so they could probably make it even better. So when it comes to the classes, as I said, you're going to have your sword and shield, you're going to have your support bomber, you're going to have your ranger like I've got, a dual blade assassin. You've got your fair share of classes. But when you get into your talents, this is where things really get interesting. Now, as I said, for me, as a solo player, I went Pathfinder. First one I chose because 2% health regeneration when allies are not around. This is straight up for your solo players, because you've got the option for receiving health boost after you exit combat, getting health and mana after kills, using a campfire to increase your main attribute, and then also you've got the Desperate Escape and Guardian of the Wild, basically your get out of a bad situation every so often card that you can pull. But if you're playing as a group, you can also lean into maybe a hunter. This is going to be more for my ranger attack. You've got the assassin, you've got the medic for healing abilities, the tank for aggro, and all of these are going to be skill trees. So once you get to level 5, you pick one, level 10, you pick another, level 15, you pick another, 20 is the cap. And if you're going to go for a tank, maybe you're going to be like, okay, after entering combat, the hero will reflect 20% of the next 5, things of damage, or all of these different things that are going to help you be more of a tank for your group. And if that's your role, that should probably be the first thing you specialize into, because if you got a healer with you, they can do medic first and maybe support to keep up fast, and then maybe they can get into, say, hunter for attack speed, or maybe they're looting and crafting over here to help things out as well. So the talent trees, as you level up through 5, 10, and 15, and all of those levels in between, can really make your character play different than anybody else's. And for, say, my ranger, I've also got the choice of weapon mastery, along with every other class can do this too. It's like the ranger even versus the destroyer, which are the first two that I had the option for on this character. You could say, if I'm in a group, the arrow rain would be a really good thing to pair with a group of, people you're with, because say a tank pulls the enemies in and pulls aggro, then maybe I can drop the area of effect and I can lean more into this as my kind of ability to really help my group out. But if I'm a solo player, something like lowering the attack speed, increasing the effectiveness of my net shot will allow me to kite enemies and keep them at range better. So this may be more of like my solo build. So your weapon mastery is something you'll be finding these like catalysts throughout, and they're going to help you level up through all of this, and eventually you're going to unlock some ultimates as well. So your abilities are really going to change even more as you get your augments. So down here, like one of the first augments I got, I was like, here's 189 more health. I was like, wow, you get some stats as you level up, but now I'm getting a big boost in health. Then I later found an uncommon one. So now I've got a little bit of health regeneration points in here as well. The second piece down is like an NPC introduced me to runes. Well, the rune that I slotted in here as I get kills, 1 kill every 5 minutes, and it stacks up to 11, is going to increase my attack power. So once I run around the forest and roam for a while, I can have up to 5% more attack power, and you can put a rune in all of these augments. Now, do I want, say, more attack power versus more mana? Or maybe I want to stock more mana up instead of, have armor plating, since I'm strong right now if I'm fighting low enemies. Or maybe I just really want to focus on getting the most damage out for every shot I can, and if I do take a hit, maybe I'm not too worried about the mana, I just need to survive the battle. All of these are going to be things that you can craft to make better, because you see this armor plate. This is a rare one with armor, tenacity points, resource reduction costs, and so much of this can be randomly rolled in crafting and different rarities. You're really going to be able to refine yourself and then also go for that min-maxing factor when you get into the end game due to all of these differences. But yeah, pair all of these augments and then the fact that like I can roll this bow in a bunch of different ways, and then there's 4 different bows, one with say bleeding or crit chance, or you've got different options of what you're going to find as you go. Pair that with your talent choices and your weapon mastery. No one ranger is going to play this exactly the same, and probably about as far apart as possible, depending on how you're playing, who you're playing with, and what you focused on. So customization is actually something they've done a really good job with, I think, in this, because it allows my ranger to play very different than pretty much anybody else's. So with early access, as I said, it comes with the 3 biomes, 3 fully voiced episodes. You've got itemization that goes really deep, as you saw, between all of the weapons and the crafting, and then your augments and everything else. You're going to have 6 different classes you can pick from, with more coming in future months. 12 world bosses are available right now, plus they're going to be adding more modes, heroes, and everything after early access, and they're hoping for a full 1.0 release by the end of next year. Again, take that with a grain of salt, of course, because, every studio seems to experience delays, and something like this may need some extra time. But overall, you've got tons of quests. They're all voice acted. You've got kind of some dark humor in there, so a little bit of mature moments and some thought-provoking story. And between the Fog of War mechanic, which makes the MOBA style combat actually pretty interesting, and kind of your ability to get around the world. The fact that you've got this like steampunk fantasy crossover where I've got a hoverboard and a bow and arrow, and honestly, they're doing a not pay to win model. So sure, you can get cosmetics and you can get different skins or different, hoverboard type, mounts and stuff like that, but overall they're going for play the game, have fun with what's in here. If you enjoy that deliberate style of exploration, a little slower pace to everything, and just being able to get lost in a world for a while, I think this could be a lot of fun. Will it land for everybody? Of course not. I know some people are going to think the game's too slow, but I know for other people, this is something they could just honestly almost find like cathartic and peaceful and be able to wander around the world. So this is Corepunk, a new MMO RPG with MOBA style combat, Fog of War, ARPG, a lot of customization, rarity of like loot and everything else. So there's a lot on offer here. Check out early access in the link below in the description. I also see that in kind of the pinned comment. Thank you guys again, Artificial Core, for the sponsor and opportunity to jump into the game. I had a pretty good time, I'll be honest. And if you're looking to come check out or hang out with some friends and enjoy this one, you've got a pretty good amount of time ahead of you, and early access is only going to get better as time goes on. So thanks everybody, enjoy this one, and I'll see you later.